Good morning, everyone. Today, of course, we would fight against Adma's character of our world, and this time in the field of historical literature, purely historical literature. And I have to confess that we will come back in this movie to the Polish affairs. Because the book I wanna mention, it was translated into English into 1915. English edition was published, and in 1905, a first Polish edition was published. Later in 1913, in the 100th anniversary of the death of main character of this book, second edition was published, and the author was Polish-Jewish historian, statesman and scholar Szymon Askenazy, statesman with many merits for Polish state and Polish nation. Thanks to him, during the negotiations of the Treaty of Versailles, Poland as country got a lot of rights to the city of Gdańsk in German Danzig, and one of the main architects of this agreement was author of this biography of Prince Józef Poniatowski. Prince Józef Poniatowski, the title of this book in Polish is Książę Józef, what means Prince Joseph, but the English title under which this book was published is Prince Józef Poniatowski, of course, and this book tells us a story in a very detailed but in a very also beautiful in terms of the language, the descriptions, the narrative, and also in terms of the feelings the reading of this book induces in our hearts, because it's written in the romantic style, but it doesn't subtract any scientific value from this historical biography of Polish statesman during Napoleonic era, Prince Józef Poniatowski, who actually fall into the Battle of Nations, the Battle of Leipzig in 1813 AD, but he was also the first non-French Marshal of France. This title was awarded to him by the Emperor Napoleon, and this biography, of course, it's definitely worth reading. It's very sympathetic for the main character presented on its pages. It's written with love to Prince Joseph, because the historian Szymon Askenazy was the admirer of this historical figure, but despite this fact, he also mentions many vices of Prince Joseph. That's why this book I always describe as the book about beloved national hero Prince Józef Poniatowski, beloved one. And Szymon Askenazy, what is worth mentioning, he defended his PhD in 1894 in Göttingen. Actually, with Göttingen I'm also very much connected, because I was working there and spent many years of my life there. But he defended his PhD under the supervision of German historian Max Lehmann, which is very rare among German people, who was Polonophile, very dedicated Polonophile and defender of Polish rights and affairs, what was not so easy in late 19th century Germany. That's why such people need to be remembered. And Szymon Askenazy was one of the most gifted of his PhD students. Later he established in Poland, then under partition still, historical school in Lwów, called after his name the Askenazy school, in which him and his students were analyzing mainly Napoleonic era, Polish participation in Napoleonic military actions, and also reasons of the partitions of Poland that took place in the second half of the 18th century. Very important scholarship, recently quite forgotten, but luckily in a few recent years it slowly these books see light again and becoming more and more known. And there are, as I mentioned, some of them are translated into English, some of them into French. So it's not so bad with their availability, not only for the Polish readers. I have to mention, very profound and very scholarly written book, but at the same time very emotional and romantic, thanks to its convention, written with love to national hero of Polish nation, Prince Józef Poniatowski, by Szymon Askenazy. Very beautiful piece of literature, and at the same time great piece of very decent scholarship that should be given as an example to modern historian how the history should be written and how the historical materials and sources should be researched. All the best, take care, have a nice evening.